Namaste. Let me start by reading a small little passage from the Mother where she describes the integral yoga and compares it with three conceptions of the world. Three conceptions of the world, one Buddhist and Shankara. The world is an illusion, a field of ignorance and suffering due to ignorance. The one thing to do is to get out of it as soon as possible and to disappear into the original non existence or non manifestation. Number two, the Vedantic, as very commonly understood. The world is essentially divine, for the divine is omnipresent here, there. But its exterior expression is distorted, obscure, ignorant, perverted. The one thing to do is to become conscious of the inner divine and remain fixed in that consciousness without troubling about the world, for this external world cannot change and will always be in its natural state of unconsciousness and ignorance. Number three, Sri Aurobindo's view. The world as it is not the divine creation it is meant to be, but an obscure and perverted expression of it. It is not the expression of the divine consciousness and will, but this is what it is meant to become. It has been created to develop into a perfect manifestation of the divine under all its forms and aspects, light and knowledge, power, love and beauty. This is our conception of it and the aim we follow. So here, this yoga, as very beautifully James has put, it's about the divine life upon earth. But before we come to that, let's just understand some of these words. We use the word integral yoga, and yoga is essentially union. It is union with the divine, though the term nowadays carries many kinds of connotations. For example, yoga for fitness, yoga for health, yoga for getting rid of illnesses, yoga for mind-body balance. None of these is yoga in the real sense of the word. The word itself means union. Yoga is also used nowadays in various kinds of packages and practices and disciplines and exercises. For example, meditation, breathing exercises. None of this is yoga. We may practice these disciplines and we may not have entered even the spiritual life. These are Mother's words, that one may practice disciplines such as the Raj Yoga, but as a discipline, that every day morning one meditates, every day one does some pranayam, but may not have even entered the yoga. So what really is yoga? Yoga is union with the divine, and implied within it is the fact that there is something within us which is like an individual representation of the divine, something which is individually seeks the divine. That's why this idea that there is no individual soul is a self-contradictory thing, because if there is no individual soul, then yoga, personal effort, liberation, all this is meaningless. Who gets liberated after all? If it's all an illusion and there is only the ego, then where is the effort required? After whatever dies or whatever disintegrates, some people like to say, like the onion peel, nothing is there, then there is nothing to worry about, nothing. Life is there, it will offer things, and at the most one can try to cultivate some attitudes, go through it as well as one can, and that's it about it. After death, there will be nothing which survives. So there is an individual element within us which seeks the divine, and we'll talk about what this individual element is naturally attracted to the divine, turned to the divine. It may not use the word divine, it may not use the word God. It may use the word that it wants perfection on earth, in earthly life, in various ways. Perfection in relationship, perfection in the way the world is organized, perfection in our own nature. It may just use the term progress, that we want to progress, but beyond the frames within which as human beings we can progress. So we should not be mistaken by terms. What is important is that there is in human beings an urge to exceed ourselves, an urge to find something beautiful, something like an ideal state, a perfect state, and through it to fulfill our own life and the life, collective life, because there cannot be an individual fulfillment if life around doesn't change. So it's invariably, when we talk about divine life upon earth, it implies a collective fulfillment. At least there should be a certain number of people. Otherwise, imagine if one person is perfected, and while he will have an effect, but what about the rest of the masses? So it's a collective realization. Then only a life has many aspects and different dimensions. All these can be fulfilled. So it's also called as the yoga of divine fulfillment upon earth, the yoga of self perfection. And this perfection is not about perfection in the human way. Human perfection is about leading a moral life, ethical life, leading a good life, sattvic life, more or less. There is also the religious perfection where one engages in works of piety while remembering God within, or doing the regular Sandhya Vandan, Bhajan, Kirtan, whatever is prescribed and proscribed in the scriptures. Now, even that is not perfection that we are seeking. We are seeking perfection in the sense that this human life has within it an utmost possibility of divinization. What is meant by this is, right now our thoughts move within a small little magic circle. We know that we should not think like this, but it moves within a magic circle. We seek knowledge which is without any errors, but with best of our efforts, still we see that errors and errors and errors creep in. We seek a truth which is untarnished by any doubt, and yet there is this tendency, if the mind begins to think about it, there is something else that it can put as if against this truth. Similarly, in the heart, our heart, its emotions, feelings move within a narrow range. It's a chalice which is mixed with all kinds of contrary emotions, love and hate and jealousy, giving and wanting. All these are mixed together in this chalice. And most human beings reconcile that this is what life is about. And then there is this life energy which has certain limited aims for which it has been given to us. And then, of course, the body which is full of all kinds of difficulties and challenges. So, this is certainly not a divine fulfillment. A divine fulfillment would mean that the mind gets true knowledge spontaneously, intuitively. It's accessible to us, and all kinds of knowledge in every field, whichever field it wants to know. Whatever field of work is given to it, the mind has the knowledge spontaneously. Similarly, speech. Speech becomes flawless, perfect, faultless. The heart is freed of all turbulent emotions. It doesn't have any more hunger to receive love from someone else, because it's constantly tapped into the core of love, source of love. It receives from that and gives freely to the whole world. Life does not need anything outer for its delight. Life seeks two things, joy and power. But that joy and power are spontaneously, they flow through the currents of life, which is turned towards the highest possible uses and purposes for which life is given to us. And ultimately, even the body is freed from all that it right now suffers: disease, disintegration, decay, aging, and death. That's the basic idea of divine fulfillment. And since human beings carry this aspiration innately, so we can say that basically world and humanity has been created for this, because most human beings, even these staunch illusionists, still wants things to be perfect. Even the person who says nothing can change in nature and all that I have to realize is the God within, still he gets troubled when he sees things which are other than what one really hopes or wishes them to be. Because that's the general trend or general thought, the way humanity has been inbuilt. And it has been inbuilt and programmed for progress towards greater and greater perfection. So this is the whole background of perfection. And integral yoga, so yoga is normally union of the soul with the divine, because soul is that part which comes from the divine, is in contact with the divine, even though it's experiencing all the sukh, dukh, mela, jhamela, all the good and bad and all kinds of things. And it knows the divine and it very naturally, it is inbuilt within it to turn towards wherever it sees the truth of the divine. Now, this is again important, because when we use the word divine, we should not mistake it for going to a temple, praying to a certain god. No, by divine it means the soul spontaneously leaps at joy wherever it sees something beautiful, something true, something good. and it feels that breath of divinity in that. It can be a majestic landscape. It can look at the mountain and suddenly feel awed. So these are soul moments which we experience in some soulscape. So we should be very careful when we use the word divine, in what sense we are using it, because most of us, the moment we have the idea of divine, we think, oh, there is a God sitting out there who is judging us. Now, these are very ignorant conceptions of God, because whom does he judge? He is himself all of this. So, in the last analysis, it is the divine who is perfecting himself in and in his creation, and through his creation, he is fulfilling himself, he is manifesting himself. And in that, man is an important link. That's all that we have to remember. So, divine does the yoga. He is fulfilling himself, all that is within him in his formless essence. He is expressing. It's like an artist. And what is the artist doing? He is painting a beautiful picture. Why? Because the picture is inside him. Or he is chipping out of the clay or stone a beautiful image. So what is the role of the stone and the clay or the chisel board? Now imagine if the chisel board by some means kept on dirting itself again and again. So for the divine painter it becomes difficult. So our role is to be a blank chisel board which is open to the divine, like a blank slate, or to be like the good painting brush which can last forever. And therefore the divine can use us to paint a beautiful picture. So what we have to do is to do sahayoga, or collaborate with the divine. Divine fulfillment is bound to take place. That is the inevitable destiny, aspiration. And divine will find his ways. So it is a divine manifestation for which creation has been made. So this is why this yoga has been also named as, there are different terms. One is integral yoga, meaning thereby not just union of the soul with the divine, but an integral union with the divine. Now this word integral implies 2-3 things. One is integral union implies that union with the divine in every possible way. So what does it mean, every possible way? There are people who speak of union with the divine, then moksha and lay. That's one aspect. The impersonal Brahman in whom we can dissolve. But there are other aspects of the divine. There is the aspect of the divine as, his love, as the lover and beloved. There is the aspect of the divine as the divine master, whose nearness the soul may seek. So these are different forms of mukti which are known in the scriptures, and this yoga gives us all of them. Salokya, Sayujya, Samipya, Sadharma. And eventually to turn the whole nature into such a beautiful expression of the divine that anyone who meets does not know the difference whether it's a human nature or the divine nature. So it's a molding of the human nature into the divine nature. So that's what is meant by integral. The word integral also means something else. It means that to realize the divine in each and every aspect, and in this entire creation, everywhere and in everything. So these are some of the fundamental ways with which we can understand the word integral. Integral also means something else, that mind, heart, life, body, all of them engage in the yoga, and all of them arrive at their own fulfillment. So the yoga, as we can see, moves on a vast landscape, and the word integral conjures many, many meanings. This yoga is also known as the supramental yoga. Shubhendra used this word. And why does the word supramental? Because all this that we are seeking and aspire for, divine perfection of earth, cannot be established unless we arrive at the perfect divine consciousness in its complete perfection. What is meant by this? Very simple. We see yogis have approached the divine, but they have approached through one or the other aspect. And often there are fights. That's how cults, sects, different religions are formed. Whereas in the supramental, all these aspects of the divine fuse into a single harmonious, perfect unity. So that perfect perfection is the supermind. And it's only if the supermind can be embodied here. So far it has acted from behind. So human beings have turned to the divine, but from one aspect. That's why Shri Krishna says in the Gita, uses the word samagram mam. It's not, rarest of rare who knows me in all the parts and principles. The Gita gives a hint about it. That in everything, everywhere, avyaktoham, vyaktoham, avyaktoham. So it gives a hint. In the Vishwarup, the creation, destruction, everything. And beyond it, the transcendent. So in the Gita, we find some places where Shri Krishna knocks at the doors of the supermind, as if pointing to this as a future realization. So this is what is only the supermind which can perfect our earth nature. So long as we live in the mind, even the highest mind, our soul may seek the divine and unite with it, but our nature will not change. At most, it will become a saintly nature, a ethical man, a sage, or whatever it means. At best, a god with a small g, a demigod, like Narad is a demigod. Born human, but he has the status of the god. But transformation is something else, it's still further. So, the second term which is used about this yoga is yoga of transformation. Now, transformation is not sainthood. I'll just read a passage on transformation, because this is one of the another common conceptions or misconceptions. Nowadays, people do some meditation and they say, I am experiencing a transformative change within me. But what is meant by transformation? The meaning of transformation, Sri Aurobindo's letter. By transformation, I do not mean some change of the nature. I do not mean, for instance, sainthood or ethical perfection or yogic siddhis like the tantrics or a transcendental chinmay body. I use transformation in a special sense, a change of consciousness, radical and complete, and of a certain specific kind which is so conceived as to bring about a strong and assured step forward in the spiritual evolution of the being. What it implies is that basically a transformed being will have a complete change of his operating system. He will no more operate according to any human standard or measure. It may seem to fit into that, it may not fit into that. He will operate based on the downpouring of a divine truth, based on the divine will, based on divine love, whose action we know we don't understand. That's why we don't understand the divine in the world. So his action, his thoughts, his feelings, his impulses will be the direct expression of the supreme divine in creation. So that would be a transformed nature which allows this action. Even now it is the divine who acts, but hidden behind ignorance. That's why there is the distortion, because human nature, earth nature does not allow this direct action. So when people say everything is done by the divine, we should be little careful. Yes, but through his intermediaries. And each intermediary takes his own cut. So is the gods, the sages, everybody takes his own cut. But here there is the direct, undistorted action through the human consciousness, which has become completely open and receptive without any fault or flaw. So we can imagine what kind of a goal that has been placed before mankind. Hearing all this, one may say, sir, this supramental yoga of transformation, all this sounds itself so difficult. So that's why there are two more names of this yoga, which is makes it seem so easy. So one name is, as I think James mentioned, it is Sri Aurobindo's yoga. Now, when we use the word Sri Aurobindo's yoga, what does it mean? It doesn't only mean that Sri Aurobindo has patented it. No, he didn't patent it. And strange part is that there are people, I know, I won't name them, who had patented the word integral yoga and divine life before. They have come much later. This was, I think, 10 years back. Sri Aurobindo has used this word so long back, and suddenly you'll find, because they patented the word. It's not about patenting the word. It means that since it is the yoga of Sri Aurobindo, then if we can come in contact by whatever means with the consciousness of Sri Aurobindo, the yoga will be taken up within us. That's what it means. So it is Sri Aurobindo's yoga, meaning thereby to come in contact with Sri Aurobindo by whatever means is to engage with this yoga. But even more simple, Sri Aurobindo has used the word the mother's yoga. Personally, to me, that's how I look at the yoga. Because when Sri Aurobindo was asked such a big goal, tell us some method. He said, method is very easy. Goal is very big. Method is very easy. So what is the method? He said, there are two keys to the integral yoga. One is a psychic opening to the mother. And then he didn't say the second one. So Nirodha asked him that, what is the second one? You said two keys. He said, the second one is aspiration for the divine life. Meaning thereby we may turn to the mother, we may be open to her, but it may be only for personal purposes, which is okay. That itself is enough, because the mother will, when the right time comes, she will inspire us, awaken the true aspiration within us. And the other thing is that apart from uh, you know um, this yoga being turned to the mother, that if we can aspire for the divine life, means in this yoga we do not have a personal aspiration, whether of mukti, to become a yogi, to become a guru, to have a lot of knowledge. Yes, true divine knowledge, divine love, all this is fine, not to help humanity or to get powers and siddhis, but this yoga is done so that we too can become flawless channels, perfect instruments for the divine manifestation upon earth. That's the ultimate aspiration of this yoga. And if one can have it from the beginning, it's wonderful. Otherwise, as we proceed, this aspiration at some times comes to us. So, this is the broad landscape, and let me summarize this first part. To be turned to the mother is to do this yoga. Sri Aurobindo's word that all who are turned to the mother are in this path. So, this is the simplest way. So, then every yoga we see that there is a beginning. So, people often ask, how do I begin the yoga? So, often this beginning is called initiation. So, I take this initiation based on something which the mother said. When somebody asked the mother, when you say I have initiated someone, what does it mean? She says, it means that the person recognizes me. So, I have a very small little story to tell, an example or an analogy, that a child inside the womb is developing. Who is making the child develop? It is the mother. Does the child know? Doesn't know. If you ask such a child, is there a mother? He'll say, what nonsense. There is no mother. That's how life is, full of darkness. You must live in this darkness. Now, this is called subconscious yoga. Even in this, ultimately it is the Divine Mother who is nourishing us. But we have no clue. We are clueless. Then comes the state in which the child automatically orients itself in the position of birth. So we'll see that all yoga begins with some kind of an orientation toward the divine. This orientation can take different forms. It can take the, engaging with reading a book. Something in us is beginning to be attracted. We may like to read a particular book. We may be attracted to the philosophical aspect. We may have admiration for Mother and Sri Aurobindo. We have not yet engaged in yoga. We may even visit the ashram and say, oh, this is a lovely place, worth going. After some time, again, we tell our children, long back we had gone there. All this is not the beginning of yoga. But still, it is now the child is getting oriented. And when the child is oriented inside the womb, how does the birth take place? Through labor pains. So the time comes when we go through the labor pains. Life says, okay, baby, come out. So from the womb, we come out into the world. And what happens to the child when he steps into the world? First thing that the child recognizes is the mother. It's inbuilt. Nature will teach us yoga. First thing. And what is the mother to the child? A caregiver, nourisher, that's all. So, this recognition of the Divine Mother, if that has not happened, if we are just attracted to a philosophy, we admire, we like the place, now it's not that it is a waste. As I said, this is orienting, this is very important. But the real yoga starts when something in us recognizes that she is divine. Now, this is not based on any intellectual conceptions. It's not about her achievements, accomplishment, nothing. Something happens. One maybe randomly goes to some place, looks at her photograph, or one has heard her name and suddenly something in the heart leaps. Now, this inner recognition is the beginning of yoga. This is the initiation. We may do any practice based on a course which we may have held. All that is fine. As I said, orientation. Real yoga begins with the recognition of the Divine Mother. And Sri Aurobindo and the Mother has spoken about it. It's not that whatever happens before that is a waste. One may be influenced by a human being, by a particular reading, whatever it is, and they are all in their own place helpful. But the real yoga starts, the initiation beginning, when we recognize the Divine Mother in this form as the divine. That's where yoga starts. Now here again, how does the yoga proceed? We have recognized her as the divine. But we may seek from her just nourishment and care, like a little child. But then as the child grows, relation develops of different kinds. There are children who are like ideal children, who trust the Divine Mother and say, whatever the Divine Mother tells me, I'll obey it because she knows better what is good for me. But there is also the phase during which, just as children revolt, so there are human beings who are divided between wonder and revolt. That also happens. All kinds of possibilities, all kinds of sadhaks. So on one side they are open, on the other side they revolt. They have doubts, they have problems, issues. It's okay, doesn't matter. The Divine Mother doesn't take offense, she doesn't discard them. An adolescent who in a rebel state says, I don't care, doesn't mean the mother stops caring. The mother loves such a child even more, you know, because he's sick. The mother speaks of this in one of the prayers. And she patiently works. Then the next stage is when the child recognizes, my mother means so much to me. Sometime because the child has wandered far. And then the child recognizes, oh, so the relation begins to change. It becomes a relation of love. And then the relation where the child begins to give something of that love to the Divine Mother. Now, people often say, bhakti. Now, bhakti is basically, human beings cannot engage in bhakti. We are not programmed to love the divine unless the divine love which is constantly in creation. It is there in every element of creation, in the stone, in the inconscient. A time comes when that love begins to spill over a little bit into the human chalice. And when that happens, we use the word bhakti. It's not that human beings have bhakti, but it is just that the divine love has taken this entire labor of love and reached a point where human beings recognize, something in us recognizes. When bhakti is born, when love for the divine is born, we can take it for granted that yoga is practically finished. Because when the bond of love is created, she does the rest. But it should be a love which is of entire self-giving to what else is love? Love is not about wanting. Love is not business. Love is not profiteering. Love is not calculation. Love is not a legal document. You see, I often say as an aside that this is something about, in modern times, love is a legal document. But we don't have love as a legal document. Love is a matter of heart. You love or you don't love, as simple as that. So love is not, people who want, okay, what will Sri Aurobindo give me? What will the mother give me? And then they have these doubts. That means that true love is not born. There are these four kinds of course, love which the Gita speaks of. Sri Aurobindo also speaks of four kinds of loves, but in a different way. There is the love of the physical consciousness. It's not so much love or bhakti, but simply because, for instance, one has grown up in the ashram atmosphere or in a milieu where parents were devotees, which is, sometimes you develop a kind of attachment. You feel spontaneously that, if you think about God, it is Mother and Sri Aurobindo. That is not synonymous with love. It's the physical consciousness in its obscurity. Like people who grow in a family situation, they begin to those things, their lifestyle, their food habits, they get inbuilt into the system. So physical consciousness is a kind of love, but this love is very obscure. It has its own place. Again, as I said, everything has its own place. Then there is the vital love. Vital love is about give and take. I have given so much, what have you given me? So I have so many instances of people who sometimes come and say, oh, I gave all this. What can they expect things from the divine? Nothing wrong with that again. Artharthi is a kind of bhakta, but it is not yet yoga. It's not yet the love of which we are speaking of. There is a lot of talk about love, bhakti, kirtan. Anybody who goes to temple is doing kirtan, bhajan. Oh, he has love, he has bhakti. No, he doesn't have bhakti. Bhakti is an inner state. It is not something which is external. One may have never engaged with this and yet may have love for the divine. Whereas one may go and do all these things, but do it with a selfish motive. And wherever there is selfish motive, there is not love. They can take it for in writing. Then there is a love which is a mental love for the divine. So this mental love is all about, I think intellectually, yes, Sri Aurobindo I think he fits into the criteria of being my guru or being the greatest of yogis. But still, there are doubts sometimes. Now, this is a mental love. It needs proofs. Vital needs rewards and gifts and gains, and the mind needs proof. So, time to time, it is bit by a bug of doubt, skepticism. All these again have their place. But true love, which is what I was referring, that when that love is born, we can take it that now it's a cakewalk. It's like one has entered the grand trunk road of the yoga. Sri Aurobindo speaks of it as the crown of the yoga, crowning movement of yoga. And that love is the psychic love. So, psychic opening to the mother. What is this psychic love? It gives and gives and gives and doesn't calculate. It doesn't need to know, oh, really, why this happened to Sri Aurobindo? I have a doubt. Or what the mother has given. Whatever one gets, whether it be apparently pleasant or apparently painful, whether it be what men call as good or what men call as bad, all these are received with gratitude, because that's what love is about. When we love, everything becomes prasad. So when this love develops, this kind of a psychic love, it takes lives to develop it. And if it has happened to someone, then it's wonderful. Like it's already entered into that ultimate. We see even in synthesis of yoga, Sri Aurobindo starts with yoga of divine works, and then it goes on to integral knowledge, and then yoga of divine love. After that, the yoga of integral self-perfection. So this is basically the broader picture. But then even after one is initiated, what is the method? This is another question people ask. What should be the method that I must follow? So I would suggest strongly that one should read the Synthesis of Yoga, book 2, first chapter, the 4 Eights. So these are some essential ingredients in the yoga, because yoga is a journey. And when we are undertaking the journey, we must know what we should have with us, what will help us in the journey. What we must have with us is, the guide. We can go without the guide, but they are treacherous domains. It's a yoga of integral transformation. Within us, there are shadows, there are dark agencies, everything. There are asuras using chadma vesh. They can come, imposters, all kinds of things. Within us, there are things which we have no clue, because before the yoga start, we think world is bad and I am good. Then the yoga start, we say, I have my own share of problems. And then as the yoga proceeds, ultimately we begin to see the divine in everyone, everything, and behind everything. So whatever it be, the important thing is that before we start the journey, we have been initiated, means thereby we have got the ticket. Now, ticket, passport, visa. But now that's not enough. I'm going to travel on a long journey. I must pack my bags well. I must first of all make sure that the guide is with me. Who is the guide and where is the guide? In this yoga, it is the mother and Sri Aurobindo within us. Repeatedly from beginning, Sri Aurobindo says. So there is the physical life, his birth, events, circumstances, withdrawal, and each of it has its own meaning, significance. I am not going into it. We have spoken about it. But the important part is to connect with the mother and Sri Aurobindo within us. And Sri Aurobindo says that even in Essays on the Gita. After all, subsequently, even after Krishna, who are the ones who really realized Krishna? Thousands of years down the line, latest probably Meera by Madhavacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who could get in touch with the Krishna within them. Whereas there were people during his own time, just apart from the Gop and Gopi, even they didn't recognize the avatar in him. Radha is an exception. She is the divine consort and a mystic creation also, as they say. Arjun, because he showed the Vishwarup. Only 5 people. But much later, people recognize Krishna. So where do they recognize Krishna? Not by reading his life, because something in them begins to respond. So the avatar comes, prepared the earth nature for this yoga. And as human beings evolve, there will come a time when we'll begin to recognize that they are within us. So this is important. Until then, yes, we will have all the external representations of the Divine Mother and Sri Aurobindo. They are important. So we have the pictures, so we recognize in them Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. We come to the ashram, it's a bhumi of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. We receive their touch, all these things, which reminds us of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, gives us the touch. But the real thing starts When we become aware, more and more conscious that the Mother and Sri Aurobindo are with us, within us, around us, in everything and everyone. It takes time, and it's not that after that all these external aids had no meaning. No. Now you love it even more. Why? Because, oh, she who is within me is there without me. But in the beginning, she is only outside because one has not recognized her inside. But a time comes, it's through the process of love, surrender, aspiration. We talk about that a little later. One begins to recognize the presence within, and she begins to guide. How does she guide? Not through do's and don'ts. God never does that. Sometimes He may, but this guidance, divine guidance in life, is something which works by gently turning our life in this way, giving us a nudge in the other way. We don't even recognize. And suddenly we find that we have changed. This is how divine guidance works. Some people believe that divine guidance means everything I refer, I must listen to a voice. Not necessary. Of course, it's good if one can come in contact in that way. But more often than not, the divine guide begins to automatically. It's like we are going to purchase a ticket. Now we have got the flight. Or let's say the flight is going via Timbuktu. And in Timbuktu, I want to purchase something. This guide will gently, if we have not to get distracted, he'll gently nudge us and turn our mind somewhere else. And we'll recognize later, oh, I was supposed to buy that. Then we remember, oh, good, I didn't buy that. So the divine guidance is like that. It is a guidance which flows with life. It's not a do's and don'ts. It can happen sometimes. Supposing there is a disaster which is going to happen. But during that case, situation, divine does not guide, He rescues. So He has His ways, hundreds, thousands of ways. So He has all methods and no methods. How He will work within, sometimes He may let us even fall. Okay. But like the bungee jumper, through a thread, unseen thread, He will hold us. You are going down, going to touch the land, and you say, Lord, where are you? And you will stop. And then He'll pull you back. So through all this, this yoga is a yoga which moves on a vast Himalayan terrain. It's not, as they say in military, sikhaye hue tarike se. Nobody can teach yoga or the method of yoga. It is something which unfolds. Yoga is like a flower unfolding. Now each unfolding will be different. The lotus flower will unfold in its own way. The rose in its own way. The umbel grass its flowers will unfold in their own way. So each one in this yoga, in a way, this unfolding is unique. That's why this yoga is not a standardized method of practice. That's why nobody can teach integral yoga the way it is understood. Okay, I will teach integral yoga. This is how everybody sits, meditates. That is the mind's way of standardizing a process. But that's not how the divine works in the world, because it takes the cognitions of the entire past. Each of us have a unique past. We are where we are because there is a whole past. Call it karma, call it destiny, whatever it is. And each of us has a unique future. Which human person can say that? That's why in this yoga there are no intermediaries. There can be some people like an elder brother who is saying, look, this is how it should be. But no guru, no other master except Mother and Sri Aurobindo. They are the eternal guide, also because nobody else can do it. I may have a certain path which I have followed. I can't say that this is the path everybody should follow. Because in each one, and the divine enjoys it. We are depriving the divine of that delight. He wants to play with each one in his own way. Who are we to say, no, divine, we are going to change the rules. So we should be very careful. Nobody is a guru or guide in this yoga except Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. So what are we? We are just friends. We are like holding hands together. Sometimes a friend who has walked a few steps further or has fallen in the ditch and come out may be better able to tell you that, look here, there is a ditch out there, there is a snake out there, and if this happens, what you can do. That is also part of the divine plan. Not as a guru or master. No power of personality, no other guru or no other even gods and goddesses can guide us in this yoga. It's an immense yoga through all the different terrains of our being. So first thing is about the guru and guide. There should be clarity. Then the next is the scripture. It's important. Shastra. So there are two kinds of Shastra. One is those which give us the philosophical understanding of the yoga. And the second is which give us the practice of the yoga. Now, I have had several talks on this, so I'll not elaborate much, but essentially just three things are important. One is, okay, it's good to understand the philosophical background, but if you want to practice yoga, plunge into the yoga, you will understand the philosophy as we grow into the yoga. And the one shop stopper is mother's works, mother's works, mother's works. People pick up the Life Divine. It gives, I have read Sri Aurobindo's Life Divine. Mother's works. All about the yoga, philosophy and practice you will find intertwined together. This is not to say Sri Aurobindo is sheer joy. I accept that. But they are one and the same. Mother holds our hands, teaches us step by step. Sri Aurobindo is like, he says, he's the principal of the school. And he says, okay, now you are admitted to kindergarten. Then when we are higher secondary, next step is you have to clear all this, then higher secondary. Then next step is come out and, do your graduation. Mother comes to kindergarten, then lower KG, upper KG, class 1, 2 and takes us right through to PhD. So we should read mother's works first and foremost. And yes, simultaneously we can read Sri Aurobindo's works. Also we must know the difference. Sri Aurobindo had written these words to prepare the mind of the race. And he says, I wrote it because there were many things in my mind which I had to express. Swanta Sukhaya. That was the reason, because mother had asked him to write and he wrote. What are mother's conversation? They are pointed specific queries by disciples in the classroom. Disciples were asking her, what is this yoga? How do I practice yoga? How do I meditate? How do I sleep? How do I dream? Or what about my dream? What is relationship? What is marriage, children? Entire gamut connected with the yoga and from the yogic point of view. You will find Sri Aurobindo's letters also touching upon all these aspects. So letters on yoga again are one shop stopper, where if you read through the entire letters, the philosophy and practice is there. But as I said, it's a vast subject. But yet we must understand, no books or any number of books can ultimately write all that takes place in the yoga. Sri Aurobindo says that, and he says at the end, Shabd Brahma Ati Vartate, beyond the scripture, because the sadhak of this yoga is not a sadhak of one book or any number of books or many books, but he is a sadhak of the infinite. Again, books are a great help. One should carry them, read them. Through the books we come in contact with Sri Aurobindo and the mother's consciousness. These books prepare our mind, our heart. They can even put the spark, awaken our soul. Whenever we are depressed, these books can uplift us, especially Savitri and prayers and meditations. So they should be there. But we must know that it's not like consulting a book almanac, whether I should turn left or turn right. There are many, many things that will take place in life. And every event and circumstance can become either a way to rise to the heights or a way toward the precipice. Even the minutest event, because this yoga is interwoven in life, to walk through life. That's how Sri Aurobindo puts it. That it is interwoven in life, the slightest reactions, a casual meeting, a chance encounter, a feeling which has arisen within, a thought that crosses the mind, what I have spoken and what I have held back. I have shook a hand with somebody and things have been transmitted which have evoked a certain response. Or I did a namaste and felt, someone special. All these small little details, somebody criticized, oh, you are a useless person, or somebody praised. All these are, yoga proceeds through all these life events and circumstances. And the mother says it's very easy to remain conscious when big things are happening, but very difficult when small little things. When you are in the ashram, you can, sitting near the samadhi, oh, it's my time for meditation, somebody comes, you are not distracted. When you come out, step out of the ashram, somebody says, you are looking ill. Oh, am I having fever? Am I not well? Is it fear? This is where yoga is taking place. So this yoga is conterminous with life. There is no separate time when we dedicate to yoga and separate time when we dedicate to people or work. Work is yoga, relationships are yoga, going out for a walk is yoga, eating is yoga, speaking is yoga, listening is yoga, writing is yoga, reading is yoga, playing tennis is yoga, doing long jump is yoga. Bringing up a child is, of course, most difficult yoga. Managing a husband or wife is yoga. Teaching a child is yoga. My mother has said to be an ideal wife, you have to be a yogi. At least the kind of expectations that human husbands, husbands put into. So you have to be a yogi. Only a yogi can take all this with equanimity and acceptance. So the wife progresses much faster because she has taken the yogic attitude. So, whatever it be, the point is that there is a lot of humor also in yoga. Yoga is not done with a serious face. Yoga is done with a glad heart. It's a joyous journey. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going, what may happen to me tomorrow? Will this train reach? Will this flight crash? Are who is carrying this flight? I can share one of my experiences, very interesting. During one of the difficult times, I saw that I was in a flight and the flight was through many clouds. It looked like it is going to crash any moment. There were 12, 14 people along with me. And it was like coming down as if, because, clouds are dangerous and the terrain is difficult, like a hilly terrain. There are trees all around and it truly a very difficult time that I was going through. But with the trust in the Divine Mother, she'll take through. So ultimately, at the end of the whole thing, the flight lands. So it lands, these 12, 13 people, 14 people. I don't know why I remember the number, 12 or 14. I didn't count them, but they come down and they go. They are all happy and we have landed. As they come down, I said, who is the pilot who has taken us? This is a whole experience. So I go and see him. And I see there Krishna. So you see, he is the guide. He is the pilot. Sri Aurobindo is the pilot. And Sri Aurobindo writes this one in one of his poems. Please read it. To our on our birthday. He says you have to trust the pilot. So there are situations, circumstances when it looks like, we are done. Not yet. As long as there is faith, we are never done. And even if faith is obscured, as long as there is hope that there is divine, we are never done. So this should never come. So we should cultivate certain attitudes in this yoga. The mother speaks of them. And these are there in our 12 powers outside. There are many others like perseverance. Of course, along with perseverance, we need equanimity, endurance. Sincerity is a aspiration, courage to face difficulty. And most important, humility. If one does not have humility, it's very dangerous to take up yoga, because yoga will release certain elements in us. Even forces may, you are a great instrument of God. And we don't know. We are going towards hell through the heavenward path. So, humility before the divine. Humility is not before others. Humility before the divine. That how much ever one may know, experience, one is nothing before the divine. Vigilance is important. Vigilance is the discerning intelligence tells you that there is a warning sign there. Still, things will happen. One will go through. So when one goes through, divine is there to rescue us. But then we must learn to endure. Faith. All these things are important because in yoga there are plenty of cosmic forces. We are not alone in this universe. We know, but apart from human agencies, there are gods and there are titans and they test us. Mother never tests us, thankfully. She is on our side. She is there to give us grace marks when we falter or fumble in the exams. She is also there to whisper the right answer in our ears. But she never tests us. But there are agencies which test us. Why do they test us? Why are they allowed? To see whether we are ready or not. Because after all, what we are going to receive, that divine perfection, it's not a joke. It's not something to be given to a weakling. So, in this yoga, many, many things will happen through which things will unfold. Where it's not scripture. Scripture is good. You can have your own important take home points like your personal rays of light. For instance, finally it is faith that cures. Some people, remember it. You can have your own take. All can be done if the God touch is there. Yes, for each one. Pick up those important things from the scripture and keep it always in the heart. Because the real scripture is here and it unfolds as a true knowledge, secret knowledge, as we move on the journey. This is the second part. Third is the disciple. God is there, water is there, but we may refuse to drink. Like children, when parents carry nice water, they want the child to take. The child says, no, I want Pepsi, Coca-Cola. What can a mother do? Because he will cry, he will shout, he will say, you're not letting me drink, my choice, my freedom. So, what a dangerous thing this freedom can be. Yet, yoga is based on freedom of choices because that opens the path. So, we will have that situation, circumstances. As a disciple, divine may prepare everything, nice meal for us to have, and we may say, I want 2-minute Maggi noodle. What does it mean? We are attracted towards paths which tell us, okay, we'll teach you one meditation, you will feel very good, happy, and this is what yoga is about. You imagine the supramental light coming down, entering your body, cleansing your cells. Well, one can have that kind of McDonald's stuff. You can practice those things, but don't mistake it for yoga. It's fine. There are different practices. We'll come to that tomorrow. But we should not think that because I'm doing this every day, I'm engaged in yoga. As I said, it's not about practice, but about the aspiration. What do I want the yoga for? For experiences? No. For power? No. For helping humanity? No. For becoming a guru or a yogi? No. For becoming a swami? No. For becoming a supramentally transformed being who is freed from death? No. A big no. What is the yoga meant for? For the divine. To be channels of the divine. To manifest the divine in this earthly life. To become one with the divine. To live for the divine, by the divine. So that our whole life belongs to the divine. That is the core aspiration for this yoga, and in that, aspiration and surrender fuse together. If this is the aspiration to live for the divine, then minimum requirement is that I surrender myself to the divine. I can't say that I want to live for mother, and then I am running around here, there, everywhere. Or, yes, I can give one part to the mother. Mother, please hold me. I have given myself to you. And then with the other hand, I am doing hi, bye, everything. Well, it happens. These are steps and stages. But what we should never let go of is the hand that is holding us. Then she will pull us through everything. So this is the disciple. We'll talk more about it when we talk about the practices. What a disciple. But the core of the disciple is aspiration and enthusiasm, a joyous enthusiasm. This is the only thing worth doing. As long as one thinks yoga is a side practice, it is not yoga. Yoga is a full-time occupation, a full-time engagement. It doesn't mean leaving job and saying, okay, now I'm an integral yogi, change your dress. It means that it is my life. It is my bread and butter and jam and cheese and everything else. That when that happens, that yoga is not just a occupation, but a preoccupation. All the time it is occupying us like the wings which are hovering over us. Then yes, whatever we may be doing, through that we can turn it into yoga. And finally, as Shubindu says, it takes time. It reminds me of the time. Yes, our time for today's session is over. Time simply means that we have many complex entangled knots in our nature and we keep making new ones. So they have to be disentangled. And it takes time. So we have to allow the divine time. We should not, when will I have this experience? When will I find the psychic being? The more impatient we are, the longer it's going to take. Impatience implies lack of trust. Impatience implies that, there is a kind of contract with the divine. I am doing this checklist. Now you have to give me the marks hurriedly. Impatience implies lack of surrender. What the divine has to give is his prerogative. And our focus should be on what we are supposed to do, once the process of yoga has started in us. As long as we believe this life of senses, bandwidth of mind, what common humanity is doing, society and all else, that satisfies us, don't step into the yoga. This yoga is not meant to convert followers. But the day we begin to feel, no, there is a world outside there which is different, beyond this. Everything is there in life. Still, we feel there is something which is greater, more. We may vaguely feel it, doesn't matter. You want to go beyond the limits of this human prison. Then the yoga has begun, and that's why it is called a new birth. And there is a whole passage of the Mother in Collected Works of the Mother, Volume 9, her last talk in the playground on new birth. Please read it. So we'll stop here today, and tomorrow we'll take up some of the processes of yoga. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How can one develop one's aspiration?
One develops aspiration is like a flame. When the aspiration is, how can one develop the aspiration? It's like we can visualize it like a flame. So, how does the flame grow? By feeding it. So, aspiration grows by offering. What should we offer in a flame? If we offer in it dust, the flame will go away. In the beginning at least. When it has become a fire, it will consume everything. But especially in the beginning, one should guard the aspiration. One should offer one's activities. But if these activities are of a very dark kind, still we have to offer. Say people who, olden times we hear about yagya, and in that the Rakshasas will come and pour wine, drinks and all these things. So if we start offering all that, nothing, we can offer technically anything and everything, we should offer everything. But from our side, we should try that at least when I am putting an offering, it should be something beautiful. That's where rejection comes. So all things that are contrary to the yogic fire, all things that it can never extinguish the yogic fire, but it can dim the fire, we should avoid, which includes meeting people. There are people whose company, marriage parties, this dance party, that they definitely have a dimming effect on the aspiration. Whereas satsang, meeting those people in the company of those who can, inspire us. So, whose flame is lit into fire. Of course, books, all these will enhance our aspiration. So, offering, rejecting all that can stifle the flame. It can never extinguish, but stifle the flame. That's a big subject. I'll speak about it tomorrow. But basically, it's offering which will increase the fire. Offering of all we think, all we feel, all we will, all we are, and all we do. That is the way to increase the fire or the flame of aspiration.
Sir?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
The present, the present era presents a very, very highly complex phenomena where we are, actually our opinion matters a lot and we conveniently enter into a very comfort zone.
Yes.
So, how do we come out of this comfort zone?
So, on one side, there is opinion, and each of us have our opinion. And it does matter in the field wherever we are doing. On the other side is we become, why get into any opinion? Why speak out something? Because it may create problems. So, that's what is a comfort zone. So, what is important is we must speak what we get truly inspired from the Divine Mother, and when that inspiration, the doors of that inspiration are open, we must speak under the influence of the Divine Will, and then we should speak it courageously, fearlessly, frankly. But at the same time, we should not push things almost getting into, the problem with world of opinions is that because each one is trying to prove their own opinions as true. Debates, discussions, arguments, no. We have to express what we believe to be true. If we are called upon to express, some people are not called upon to express, which is perfectly fine. But if we are called upon to express, let us turn to her, feel that inspiration, and then speak. And it should be as, when we speak in that state, there is an inner peace and joy. There is never a state of disharmony or anger, agitation, excitement. That'll be like field of ignorance in which we continue to be in ignorance. So that courage comes from the divine. If divine gives a work, he gives us the courage and the know-how and all that is necessary to do it. So to act and speak under the divine inspiration is the answer, and not otherwise. Yeah.
Sir, we as Indians are highly emotional and we are easily swayed by any opinion. How do we overcome this? What is happening?
Yes, see, we Indians, no, I would rather say there are different parts of India. I mean, having traveled through and all the Indian states, different parts. We are very emotional, we are very passionate, we are very intellectual also. I would rather say some of the greatest intellectual works. We can be very scientific minded. But what you are saying is true. It's a phenomenon because we Indians have forgotten what it means to be an Indian. So we have been so much put under the colonial mindset, the slavery, mental slavery, that anything which comes ratified from the I don't want to qualify racist comment, but anything that like a breeze blowing from the Western world, we immediately accept it. Even scientific things. So we must develop our own things. We must have the courage and explore truth. So we have this, it's a kind of an intellectual slavery, but now the change is coming. I see that, and Indians are waking up to their own truth. My own, in fact, impression is different. I have met people across the world and across board, all over the world. I find the Indian mind far more intellectual and subtle in grasping subtle things because it's trained like that. But we have lost that faith in ourselves. We need to revive that faith. We have developed this idea that whatever comes from, say, the other side of the world is true. That's a passing phase. I could almost give a talk on that, modernism, postmodernism, metamodernism, liberal thought. All this can be shredded to pieces. Socialistic thought. But we should not be afraid of exercising the intellect. Sri Aurobindo says that, in fact, one of the things is that we have become afraid of thinking. But it should be our own thinking. We must recover it. And we should do it with courage. Yes, it's a necessity. I quite agree with you. And it will come. It is beginning to happen. But if it comes through engaging in yoga by recovering of the, as Sri Aurobindo says, the Aryan way of life, which encourage thought, we conserve the energies and changing the ritas in through tejas and ojas and viryas, that is the path. People unfortunately waste a lot of time in gossip in all these free floating opinions.
The effect of the present social media.
Yes, I completely agree. So much time on Instagram and whatever, I don't know what grams and kilograms. I mean,
On our weaknesses.
yeah. I completely agree. They not only are, they are not just a waste, they are a criminal waste. So instead we should learn to contemplate, reflect, discover our own, whatever we can take up a subject and contemplate, reflect. That is what meditation is about. And discover truths in our own unique way. Yes, I quite agree. Okay, so maybe, James, we can meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
How does one assess the progress one is making on the
That's just what one should not do, because assessing progress means, first of all, it's difficult to assess because this yoga touches different parts of nature in different people. So there is no one way. It's like, when you see a building being made, it's difficult to say where has the building gone for a long time, because in one part the foundation is being prepared, in another part the floor is being laid. So depending on which side you will see. And in some place you will see nothing but the bricks have been purchased. So mother in fact says it's not good, because The more we think about ourselves, including the progress made, the more we are concentrated upon ourselves. And the concentration should be on the divine and not on ourselves. But one thing, yes, we can assess is how much I have given myself to the divine. That is something easier, whether I have surrendered myself to the divine or not, and we'll know it by the reactions. If something troubles us, disturbs us, makes us restless, means in this part surrender is not yet complete. That should be what we can assess. How much is my aspiration true? But progress in terms of results, no, certainly not.
That was just a passing thought I had my last visit to Pondicherry.
Yes.
And so I thought, put it in front of you.
No, absolutely. It's
To check whether we are on the right track, because as you mentioned, there's a kind of journey.
okay. I'll give you a short answer to that. If aspiration is growing, if there is the joy of moving on the path, if there is an urge for progress, if there is this urge to give oneself to the Divine Mother, to surrender more and more, if the company of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, whether inwardly or outwardly through books, like the fact that you have connected in this webinar, all this is a sign that we are on the right track. On the other hand, all depression, loss of faith, tendency to, that cynicism, what is the use of all this? All this is a sign we are going off track, especially depression. If there is a state of depression, means we are losing track. And if there is a natural peace and joy, a glad state inwardly, that means things are fine basically. And the urge to progress, to read more and more, to give more and more, that's a sign that we are progressing. Short answer. Yeah. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Alok.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you all tomorrow.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.